Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. So today we are taking some incredibly dense, kind of intimidating strategic frameworks and turning them into a highly memorable, super easy to recall toolkit. If you've got a big exam coming up, or honestly, if you just want to really master the art of business strategy, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the marketing mix framework, sustaining a competitive advantage, the Ansoff growth matrix, navigating product diversification, and finally, entering international markets. Compartmentalizing these 5 theories is absolutely going to lock them into your memory for exam day.
All right, starting right off with Section 1, the marketing mix framework, looking at variables and the 7 Ps. Let's start with the first major tool in our strategic toolkit, the actual marketing variables we have the power to control. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how a top-down roadmap perfectly connects your massive, high-level strategy right down to specific, actionable selections, like the marketing mix. It's basically a guide showing how big-picture goals translate into everyday business decisions you can actually manage. Before we hit the core Ps, let's look at a super high-yield exam distinction. We're talking about penetration versus price skimming. Penetration pricing is when you charge a low initial price because you want to rapidly grab market share, right? Price skimming, on the other hand, is setting those prices high early on. You want to reap maximum profits from early adopters before your competitors even enter the space. Okay, so looking at the foundational 4 Ps of a physical product, price, promotion, and place, you'll want to make a massive mental note here for your exam. Price is the totally unique variable here. Why? Because it's literally the only one that actually generates revenue. All the others, they just represent costs to the organization. But, well, what happens when we aren't actually selling a physical object? Philip Kotler defines a service as an intangible activity or benefit that doesn't result in ownership. So when we transition from physical products to intangibles, those traditional 4 Ps just aren't enough anymore. We need 3 extra variables to complete the whole picture. Let's use an airline business travel example to really anchor these 3 new Ps in your memory. First up, people. Think of a confident, super positive cabin crew that actually makes your flight enjoyable. Second, processes. This is all about the ease of online booking or a really fast bag drop system. And finally, physical evidence. Because you can't literally hold a flight in your hands, the airline gives you tangible cues, like a glossy in-flight magazine or branded gifts, just to prove the quality of the service. Moving right along to Section 2, sustaining a competitive advantage, price, differentiation, and lock-in. So having a great marketing mix is fantastic, but how does a company not just get an advantage but actually keep it? That brings us to a really crucial concept. Sustainable simply means capable of being continued over time. For the exam, remember that a truly sustainable advantage has to survive aggressive competitor reactions and completely unpredictable market shifts. It's about endurance, not just some quick win. All right, walk with me through Bowman's strategy clock. Notice how it plots perceived added value on the vertical axis against price on the horizontal axis. You've got your hybrid and differentiation strategies sitting pretty at the top and low price strategies over on the left. But check out that bottom right quadrant, strategies 6, 7, and 8. They combine high prices with low perceived value. These are fundamentally flawed, guys. They're destined for absolute failure. So the absolutely crucial point here is that value isn't just a strict mathematical calculation based on what something costs to make. Not at all. Perceived value added is entirely about the consumer's perception. It's heavily influenced by how the customer perceives the benefit of your product, which is shaped by clever marketing or really unique features. Let's anchor this with a real-world example you can definitely use in your exam essays. For a price-based strategy, think of Ryanair's no-frills model. They ruthlessly minimize their value chain costs to offer the lowest possible fares. Sure, you've got to pay extra for food or even just to reserve a seat, but customers still highly value the service because that base ticket price is just incredibly low. Now, contrast that with $1.4 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. That was Dyson's massive profit in 2018 alone. They use a differentiation strategy by spending incredibly heavily on research and development. I mean, taking 6 years and over 600 prototypes just to make a 400-pound hair tong. They create these highly unique breakthrough products that command premium prices and generate massive returns. Just to round out your mental toolkit, there are 2 more advantage strategies to quickly add.
First is the niche or focus strategy. This is where you target a highly specialized market segment. Think of Planet Organic, focusing entirely on certified organic groceries. Then there's the lock-in strategy. This happens when a product becomes the absolute industry standard, kind of like Microsoft's operating systems. Once everybody uses it, switching becomes way too painful, which literally locks the advantage in place.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Ansoff Growth Matrix, Mapping Development Directions.
Okay, we are shifting gears to a framework that is an absolute guaranteed staple on pretty much any strategic management test. The Ansoff Matrix brilliantly illustrates how a business charts its path forward. It basically divides growth into two simple dimensions: what you're selling, so your products, which are either current or new, and who you're selling to, your markets, which again are either current or new.
Now pay really close attention here, because honestly, this clears up a massive student trap. Market development is taking your existing products and selling them to new demographics or new geographic areas. Product development, on the other hand, is creating entirely new items to sell to your current customer base. Mixing these up costs easy points, so definitely burn this distinction into your memory. Moving along to Section 4, navigating product diversification and expanding those boundaries. So what happens when an organization steps entirely away from both its current markets and its current products? Well, that's diversification. Sometimes it's done through related diversification. A manufacturer might integrate backward by buying up their raw material supplier, or they might integrate forward by acquiring their distribution outlets. They're expanding into new areas for sure, but they're still building on their existing core capabilities and value chain. And then there's conglomerate diversification. Imagine an electronics company, let's call them ABC Co., suddenly buying a car rental business. It's completely unrelated. Now, while this spreads overall corporate risk, because hey, if electronics dip, car rentals might still be booming, it comes with way higher integration risk. You literally have to acquire completely new industry expertise. In an exam scenario, always advise your fictional client to weigh the complexity of integration against the benefits of risk spreading. And finally, Section 5, entering international markets. Going global. For our final module today, we're looking at the motives and the very specific methods for taking a business across borders. When a company decides to export, they face an immediate choice. Indirect exporting means letting local agencies in the foreign country sell your products, usually on a commission basis. It's pretty low risk. Direct exporting, however, means taking on more risk and cost by setting up your very own overseas sales offices so you can manage the whole process yourself. Let's move on and see how this quote builds a great case for overseas production. Consider this quote from Elon Musk about import duties. It's like competing in an Olympic race wearing lead shoes. I mean, that perfectly captures why companies don't just export, but actually go and build factories abroad. By setting up local production, like Tesla or other car manufacturers do in China, a company avoids crippling trade tariffs and massively slashes transportation costs. So that brings us to one final, pretty big question. Which global entry mode or growth vector do you think is the most resilient in today's rapidly shifting global economy? I want you to take this newly acquired strategic toolkit and apply it to the world around you. Analyze the next company you buy from. Are they penetrating the market or diversifying? Are they skimming or penetrating with price? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. You now have the tools to absolutely ace this topic. Keep observing, keep analyzing, and keep learning.